Welcome to Coffee with Pastor Dan. I am here today with a guest that many of you know. Carole Becker is with me here today, and we're going to have some good conversation. But I realize there's some of you who haven't had a chance to meet Carole yet. Carole still has work that she does with the church, but how long have you been with All Saints now?
I think this is my 26th year.
Wow, 26, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was a good find.
And then I'm trying to remember, I should know, but you actually came first as staff, is that right?
No.
No, you didn't. Oh, okay, my mistake.
No.
It's a good thing I asked.
On board, I was a member for, I don't remember how many years before, but then let's see, it was 2001 before Michael Niels became bishop and invited me to be a part of the staff at the synod office. And when that position closed, Pastor Joe talked to me about coming on board at All Saints.
And you've done various things here and at the synod level. So what's been sort of the arc of your career with the church?
The arc of it?
Yeah, you got the fancy way to say, what jobs have you done?
Okay. Well, at All Saints, of course, I participated there for a number of years in the area of grief support facilitation, which was my passion and remains my passion. I love, meeting with people who are grieving,
yeah,
and helping to facilitate, helping to process their pain.
And I have to say, as a person who shares that with you, I think a lot of people are used to being around grieving people at just like little scattered moments, and they think grieving, oh, that's like the worst job you can have. And then what you realize is, at least for me, when you see a person who is grieving well, it's like taking something that was heavy and hard for them, but is essentially love, and watching it become this great and beautiful strength in their life. And it's like a metamorphosis that you rarely get to see in a human life, where one moment can make you an even richer, fuller person.
Exactly. I think that was something that I gave a lot of thought to when people used to question me and say, why do you surround yourself with all of that pain? And so I thought about it a little, and I thought, well, gosh, maybe there's something wrong with me.
Well, there's something wrong with both of us then.
I couldn't think of what that was until it occurred to me at one time, going up to lead a grief support group at All Saints and coming from a long day at the synod office, and I was running late, and you don't run late for a grief support group.
No.
Immediately think that they've been abandoned. But anyway, I remember getting into the parking lot and looking ahead and looking at all those stairs that I had yet to climb, and knowing that I had to hurry up and get there. And I remember I got to the second step, and I heard a lot of noise up in the hallway up above, people talking, laughing, having a good time. And then somebody came around the corner and she said, she's here. And I just thought, now I know why I do this.
Yeah.
I heard their voices and remembered their initial pain when we first gathered. And I thought, not everybody gets to watch people heal.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. People healing, isn't it?
Right. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
If I didn't see the healing, I wouldn't want to be involved anymore. But yeah, I love to watch that process of healing. And I just have to be present. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
A thought. And part of I knew it would be fun to talk to you, but a question I've been realizing for myself is kind of preparing myself for the next year or two, not just as a pastor, but as a person. is um, I've been I've been thinking and hearing more from people that there have been so many levels of loss, and it's nearly universal. One of the things about loss is usually we almost feel isolated because we're having loss and everybody else is going about their normal life.
Mhm.
Um, and there's an element of isolation that's involved in this too. But with the pandemic, I think we all felt loss on a different level. And so it's a little bit harder to know who is hurt and how. Like if I know somebody has like lost a job or has gotten sick or has lost a close loved one, I have a preset um, imagination of what they might be going through,
Mhm.
and maybe a little bit set of different amount of patience or means of communication to help guide me on how to interact with them. But what do we do when we've all gone through this thing together is my question. And my first thought is, as you've been looking at this from your years of experience, um, when you look at the pandemic and what we've gone through, what is it you are seeing that is affecting people the most in terms of the sense of loss? What have people lost? And I'm sure it's across the board, but what are the things that you've seen?
Gosh, so many losses that I have observed, and it depends on the person and the family. And if you're acquainted with those things, it's a little bit easier to be able to approach those people and know where to begin. If you're not familiar, then it's pretty important for you to just sit back and say, tell me about what's going on for you. And, let's talk this thing through. Um, and if you listen well enough, you learn where the sensitivities are and, those things that you can respond to and those things that need to wait before you go further with people. But their losses, gosh, I think of the biggest example I think is for those folks who had loved ones in hospitals or in nursing homes or residential care facilities and not being able to see them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. Touch is so important to people.
Yeah.
Looking in each other's eyes is so important to people. And the length of time that we have gone through that kind of experience uh, is just devastating to me to consider all of that. People have lost people through death. They have lost their homes. I know a family who had to move out of their home in a hurry because the owner, they were renting it, the owner had to take it back. And this family had 30 days.
Wow.
And to find housing in this time when costs are so high.
And when we were all sort of hiding in our houses,
Exactly.
it was our one place of safety.
Yeah, and I think that was probably a problem for a while as well, is to learn, and we did. And I can say all saints, and certainly the staff, the council, the pastors, as quickly as we knew that we couldn't be together in worship anymore, all of the efforts that were made to provide us online worship and daily devotions and prayer opportunities just made all the difference, so much difference for
But I'm
people.
just thinking of that person who lost their home.
Hmm.
That was just a just like probably the worst time to lose your home.
It's been a terrible time for them. And in addition to that, it was just a person. It was a person with it was a husband and wife with a child who was in school in that area.
Oh, wow.
special educational facilities in that area for her. Um, and admirably, I felt very sad for them, talked with them, tried to learn how I could help. And finally, the young man said, you know, it is what it is. We have to move on. We have to do the best that we can.
Yeah.
This is our option. And that's what they're doing.
And I'm also thinking about traditional loss, and people I know here from the church who lost loved ones, but they had limited to no contact with people at the time of their death because they were in the hospital and they weren't allowed to go in.
Right?
We did funerals, but oftentimes there was reduced numbers of people there, or even a couple of times we just did an all digital funeral, and other people just said, I'm going to do something after the pandemic. And now there's this sort of like, where does this fit into the pace of sped up life? What you've been talking with folks about grieving people who've actually lost a loved one during the COVID. What's hanging on for them right now?
Well, that's an experience I've had during the COVID time as well. My own brother passed away.
I forgot that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
okay. Just a difficult thing for me or for anybody to know that this person that you love is gone. You couldn't be with them while they were sick. Um, I remember sitting and waiting because my brother was carried back to a hospital, waiting to hear about his arrival. And the message I got was the airplane landed, but my brother was already gone. And so while I'm sitting here waiting to say to myself, how can I get to see him? How can I talk to him on the phone? None of those things were possible. That's a huge hardship. I certainly still think about that today and wished I would have had that opportunity to say goodbye. That's in life, saying goodbye is really important. But so many people have had that experience. And as you talked about, my brother hasn't had an official burial service at this point in time.
Yes.
Because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. And now we're just beginning to have the opportunity is just presenting itself. So
That's
will
going to be an interesting thing because I haven't done, I would say I haven't done that many funerals that would be this delayed from a person's death. What do you anticipate? What do you think it will be for those kind of gatherings that will be different and more important because of the delay?
Well, I think what's good about the opportunity to gather is that we can gather, we can be together as family.
Yeah.
We can hug each other, which is really important as well. There'll be some tears and remembering, but it's so important to do that processing and do it together and to see how everybody is responding to that individually. I think it will help people just to say, take a deep breath and say, okay, we've done this. We've shared our pain and now we can move on.
And I'm just thinking one of the things is culturally, a funeral shortly after a death has sort of forms to it that allow you to say the things you want to say to let somebody know how much you loved a person that was lost, and how you share that with somebody else who also loves them and perhaps is even grieving more than you do. And you were just saying, asking people about their loss and doing that this is going to probably require us to be more intentional because there won't be as many automatic hallmark moments to address these issues. It's going to take some time for each one of us to say, hey, I've got people in my life that I love and have lost, and I didn't have the funeral to say goodbye. What am I going to do to thank God and to thank the loved ones who share this grief with me? So, but I know, and by the way, I can tell I'm only halfway through the things I want to talk to you about. We already talked about this a little bit. We're gonna end recording this one and record another one. So we'll have a part 2 for people who are watching next week. But before we do that, could you share just kind of like what is the state right now with grief support groups at the church if somebody is interested in doing this, and how you quote unquote qualify to be able to join in a grief support? So.
Okay, well, Dawn Katek, who is a co-facilitator with me in my grief support group, she and I have been talking about scheduling a date again since our last grief support group ended in mid-January. And we usually like to do a spring one, but we like to hit those holidays such as, Easter and Mother's Day and Father's Day, birthdays and those kinds of things at this time of year. So we haven't picked a date yet, but my first question goes back then to you on that. I've heard from probably 3 people who have indicated an interest in participating.
Yes.
From our congregation, but participation in the grief support group at All Saints includes people in our community as well. And we've had many people come to us from the community, either people that were referred to us or other facilities have reached out to us because of where we are located. So people in the community can come. You can watch on our website for dates, or you can see in the weekly bulletin for dates now that we can gather again in church. There is no cost. The church provides this as an outreach ministry to the community as well as to the people who worship with us.
If I've got a loved one that maybe even died years ago, is it still okay?
It's wonderful for you to come. If you have grief that you haven't processed that's long-standing, it's never too late to come, and you can always realize a benefit from your participation.
This also makes me think too, is that for the people that are listening right now, this might be a really good time to ask them to think of people maybe that have no connection with the church, but to remind them that their friends that went through grief probably did so with a lot less resources that would normally be available. And just to let them know, hey, if you're at all interested in getting some more help and like you said, the healing and the growing and the return of laughter and the joy back in your life, because I always remind people that I've never seen anybody grieve for somebody that they didn't love. And love is a gift. Love is a gift, and it's meant to be with you even after the person is gone. And that's, to me, is the exciting part about grief work, is that it turns that love back into a person's heart that they can care and share with others. So I'm going to ask people to think of people that don't have that kind of support, to let them know that this is something that we do here. It's a ministry here at the church, and we're thankful to have it here. Well, yes, go ahead.
Go ahead. I just wanted to say, to your point, that people die, but love doesn't.
Yeah.
And if that needs to be resurrected for some people in a group setting, it's amazing what you can learn from one another.
Yeah. My mom said this to me, but she didn't mean in the context of grief. She was telling me of the trials of marriage. And she said, love never dies, but it can get buried. So when it gets buried, you got to dig it back up.
Right. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Some people need to, they think they need to try to forget the love that they had for a person.
Yeah.
And that won't work.
No, and because love is too persistent, it won't let it go. It's meant to be there for your whole life long.
Yeah.
Well, We're going to wrap this portion up, but just to shift your gears a little bit, we're going to think about the future in our next conversation. Does that sound good?
Good. I would like to think about the future now that it looks like we're going to have one.
Okay, good enough. All right. Thank you all for listening. And we're about to have this conversation right now in real time, but for the rest of you, you're going to wait a week, and I know you're going to enjoy hearing from Carole Becker again. Take care, everybody.
God bless.